absolutely. There's a part of me that's angry. This is not what I wanted. You know, uh, if I didn't have the diagnosis, I would still be practicing law, would still be acting on stage and in movies, little independent movies. I'd be, um, you know, um, I'd still have my sailboat. I'd be sailing. I can't do most of that anymore. I know what Alzheimer's does. It will rob me of my personality. Um, I will eventually become incontinent, stop eating, and die. Um, a position came available in the public defender's office, so I went to work for the public defenders there.
That would be interesting.
It was very interesting. It was criminal law. I hadn't done criminal law, but they hired me because I spoke Spanish, and I did, so I was in court almost every single day.
Wow.
And I was president of the Bar Association there in that county. And, but as a public defender, I did a lot of negotiations between the prosecutor and, and the client. Yeah. I knew that Alzheimer's runs in my family. And for my father and his siblings, and my older cousins, it showed in their mid-40s. When I turned 60, I thought I was safe. But at 62, I was driving home from work, came to a four-way stop, and near where I live, and I didn't know whether to turn left, right, or go straight. This was in my neighborhood. And I picked up my cell phone and called my daughter. I was really upset. I really didn't know where I was. And she's a mother of three, and very calmly said, "Mom, just, what street are you on?" And of course I forgot the name of the street. I said, I don't know. And she's calming me down. And then within, I don't know, a minute or two, it felt like a half hour, I realized where I was. And I said, oh, I know where I am now. And I went home. It was really, really scary. And I was 62 at the time. But I knew at that four-way stop. And I was scared, confused, angry, because my life had changed. Because at that four-way stop, I knew I had Alzheimer's. I knew that incident was a sign. And yes, it could have been something else, but deep down inside, I knew it was. And so that's why I panicked. That's why when I called my daughter, I was crying and I was upset and I was confused, and it was, no, it can't be, it can't be happening to me, please. And then it was happening to me.
Don't know that, my
Right.
father had dementia. Does that mean I'm going to get it, or is it genetic?
Right.
Is Alzheimer's?
Well, the familial form of Alzheimer's is only about 5% of dementia, of people who have dementia. So it's fairly rare. And there are three genes that have been found to be familial. And it all depends on whether that gene is passed on from one generation to the other. In my case, my father had the presenilin-1 gene, and he was one of 13 children, and it came from his mother. And the reason we know that is that of the 13 children, there were 3 different fathers. And my father is the only son of his father, the only child of his father. So, so that's why I know it comes from my great grandmother, I guess my grandmother, yeah. And so then it went through my father, and my father had 4 children, and I'm the oldest, and I have it. And so, and there's another sibling that has it too, that's been diagnosed. And then we'll see about my children. Of my cousins, I'm the 4th oldest. The oldest cousin died of Alzheimer's about 4 months ago. The second oldest is in the end stages, and both of them, Alzheimer's appeared in their mid-40s. The third cousin doesn't have symptoms. And then there's me. And then there's my sibling. We both have Alzheimer's. And then the next cousin is beginning to show signs of dementia. So that's why I know it comes from my great grandmother, I guess my grandmother, yeah. And so then it went through my father, and my father had 4 children, and I'm the oldest, and I have it. And so, and there's another sibling that has it too, that's been diagnosed. And then we'll see about my children. Of my cousins, I'm the 4th oldest. The oldest cousin died of Alzheimer's about 4 months ago. The second oldest is in the end stages, and both of them, Alzheimer's appeared in their mid-40s. The third cousin doesn't have symptoms. And then there's me. And then there's my sibling. We both have Alzheimer's. And then the next cousin is beginning to show signs of dementia. You know, there is a saying that if you've seen one Alzheimer's, you've seen one Alzheimer's. It's different. I know of someone who was diagnosed at the age of 35 and died at the age of 39. And then there are people who are diagnosed and 15 years later they're still around. My father, we look back and he was about 45 when, looking back to see the very early symptoms. And he died, let's see, he was 45. He died at the age of 60. So he died a very, he lived a very long life. But the last 5-6 years of his life were horrible. Horrible. And that's why I've made the choice I've made. So the stage I am in now is called mild cognitive impairment. And that's the very, very early stage. The next stage, well, the Alzheimer's Association uses stages 1 through 7. Stage 1 is no dementia whatsoever. Stage 2 is mild cognitive impairment. Then there's stage 3. Stage 7 is when you're at death. At stage 4 and 5 is where, you really start to get lost. people have to watch you. By the time you get to stage 6, um, you're having trouble feeding yourself, you're incontinent, uh, and you have to be taken care of. Someone has to be with you all the time. You can't be left alone. And so, you know, and I've, you know, I don't. This is. I don't want to go there. I have told my family that when it gets to a certain point, I don't want to get to the point where someone has to take care of my body. Why? If there isn't a cure, if there's nothing to stop the progression, why do I want that? You know, this is an individual choice. The vast majority of people want to live no matter what. But for me, quality of life is important. I don't want anyone to have to wipe my butt. I don't want anyone to have to feed me. So I'm checking out. You know, that's my plan. And I've been told, well, Myriam, you won't know. You know, you're going, you know, you won't know. And I've always joked, knowing that at some point there might be a possibility that I would get Alzheimer's. Even in my 40s, I joked, you know, I'm going to, if I find out I have Alzheimer's, I'm going to write on a note and put it on my mantle or someplace that says, Myriam, if you don't know what this is, you know, if take it. And from what I understand is that I'm going to forget their names, that I'm going to forget who they are. Alzheimer's is eating away at my brain. My reaction was, okay, I'm going to fight this. I'm going to do everything that I can. I read up on as much as I could. What are the best practices, you know, to stay as healthy and as cognizant as possible. And so I've been doing that. And I've also been fighting, advocating for a cure. There is nothing to stop it. There is nothing to cure it. And I'm not necessarily doing it for me, but I've got 4 children and 7 grandkids. And statistically speaking, half of my children, 2, carry the gene, and their children, some of them will carry the gene. So I want to do absolutely everything that I can for them and for everyone else who ends up with Alzheimer's.
What?
And I certainly believe that there's going to be. I have to be optimistic, and I have to always say there's going to be a cure or something to stop the progression, because that's what keeps me going. It's that hope. It's that hope that keeps me going, keeps me fighting, and keeps me wanting to stand at the top of a mountain yelling and screaming. We've got to do something. Our country is going to go bankrupt as baby boomers get older and they get dementia. Medicare, Medicaid is going to go bankrupt. How are we going to pay? How is this country going to pay for the care of people who have Alzheimer's and dementia? You know, so it's not just my children and my grandchildren and the rest of my family. It's also for our country, that motivates me, that keeps me energized on fighting for a cure.
What's the
Yes, when I was 18, I wish I had someone who was wise, who befriended me and counseled me and told me that everything was going to be okay. Everything is going to be okay. Just take it easy. Learn as much as you can. Be wise. Work at being wise. That what's important is being satisfied with your life and enjoying it. Just relax. There are many things that are going to happen, but if you live in the present and not think about what happened in the past, you know, something somebody said a month ago, or worrying about the future, oh my God, what's going to happen in the future, but living today in the now, because it's only now that you have control. You can make a decision for today, what you can do today. You can't do anything about what happened yesterday or the day before. And you can prepare for tomorrow and the day after, but it's today that's important. And if you take each day at a time, it will make your life easier. You'll be wiser. You'll learn wisdom that way. My independence, my need to live here in an apartment instead of with my daughter. She's got an apartment above a garage in, 5-acre property that she lives. I could also live with my other daughter, who's got, it's just she and her boyfriend, and it's a 4-bedroom, 3-bath house, and they've got room for me there. But I choose to be independent because I don't want to be a burden on them. For me, this is a gift to them. They may not see that, they may not believe that, they may not want that, but I see them often, birthdays, Thanksgiving, and I go and visit, and they'll come and visit me. But going from here to assisted living and then a nursing home or wherever I end up, as opposed to moving in with one of my children and having them care for me. For that, I see that as my gift to them. I want them to see me as strong and independent and loving. This is my memory. I have lots of Post-it notes and piles of, here are medications that I need to have refilled. These are reminders. Lots of things to do, piles of things to do. I have to return this. Taxes. A cartridge for my printer. These are just anything that I need to do, that I need to be reminded. That's what I use this table for. It's part of my brain.
So